I think it takes like a certain weird type of person to be interested in something for so long.
Yeah, I think people who are not learning type design has a very different approach.
We realized there is basically no foundry which is founded by women.
And also what I do is I just like distribute my pre-release typefaces and then just give it to designers and see like if it works, if it clicks.
So I think this combination of these two things makes us ugly and useless.
As David Lynch said, the future is bright.
Okay, now I'm officially a type designer.
Welcome to a special live edition of Vienna Design Hour. I am Stefan Göschel, and in this podcast I talk with creative minds from various disciplines about their work and perspectives on design. In this episode I'm joined by 4 emerging type designers from Hungary. Ádám, Asztalos and Bendegúz Batke run their studio Ugly But Useless in Budapest, while Czocsán and János Hunor Vári are currently working out of Lausanne. Together, we explore a wide spectrum of contemporary type design, from the creative and economic challenges of developing new typefaces to the realities of the Hungarian design scene, and the question of how to stand out today when so many new foundries are competing for attention. This conversation was recorded on September 12, 2025 as part of POV Budapest. A warm thank you to Boldizsár Mátyás and Mátyás Czél, the founders of POV, for inviting me and supporting the recording on site. I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you very much for joining us for this roundtable about Hungarian type designers and type design in general. And I would also like to thank the organizers of the POV conference, Mátyás and Boldi, and all the team for providing us with this stage. I think it's very wonderful to be here. My name is Stefan Göschel. I'm a designer from Vienna. I run the design studio Czocsán, and I also do the podcast Vienna Design Hour. And I was invited to host this panel, and I'm very happy to have 4 amazing designers here who are graphic designers but also type designers. And I would like to have the focus on type design today. And I also received some questions from the audience before, so I hope to integrate them. And in the last couple of minutes, I will also open the mic for questions if you have. So I would like to start with introduction. Maybe we start over there. These 2 are Ugly But Useless, and there's Bendegúz Batke and Ádám Asztalos. They are based in Budapest, and we have 2 other ones. It's Czocsán and János Hunor Vári. They're both based in Lausanne in Switzerland, which is very interesting because we have maybe some representations of the local scene here, and we have some outsider's perspective, even though we are from Hungary. Maybe we can talk about it later. And I would like to introduce you by asking you what are the main aspects and what is important in your work for you personally. So I don't want to give a general introduction, but maybe Bendegúz, you can share what is important at your practice for you as a designer.
Thank you, and hi everybody. It's good to be here, and thanks for having us. For me, or us, I mean, the most important approach to our work is to always thinking from the direction which is coming from the type. I mean, always implement somehow the type in every graphic aspect in our work, and I always trying to make everything the most attractive that I can do. Yeah, and I like to experiment a lot, so I always finding my limitations.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I think I don't know like what is my main approach or like what's the most important for me in design, but like we are working together super closely, and I think it's the nice thing about our collaboration is that Bendegúz is approaching everything with this more conceptual, like more crazy way, and I'm the one who is like trying to this I call it like math thinking, like this rounded numbers and like doing everything on pixel perfect, and Bendegúz is the opposite of that. And I think this strange
grid-like thinking.
Yeah. So I think this combination of these two things makes us ugly and useless.
Yeah. But I think my approach is more intuitive than this mathematical, very precise approach.
Laura, how would you describe your approach to your practice?
So I have a practice which consists of both type design and graphic design, but I think in both of these systems I like to start with a conceptual idea and then execute it in a more pragmatic way. So I like to riff off of crazy ideas as well in the beginning, and then I'm kind of taking this role myself as they do the two, like the two of them. I'm doing the same, but I'm alone. So usually I just kind of like shake myself into a little bit of order after this conceptual phase or experimental phase is over in the process.
Hunor.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So in my case, I think I just do a lot of experiments just for fun and for no income. And then when there is a project that I can work on, then I just like channel it in. And I try to find ways to like, fit my experiments or like use them somehow or just like induce some ideas. So yeah, I think one aspect is experimenting. And as Laura said, I think the other important aspect for me as well is like editing my work. So I try to channel in a lot of ideas and then I just like chop in. It's like, I imagine it as like a tree or something that like just grows and then at some point you just like shape it. Mm. Yeah.
When we talk about experimentation, my question would be, how important is the functionality of it for you? So if you experiment, do you have some specific case in mind, or do you just start to experiment and you just follow what ideas come and where they lead to?
It depends. Usually I don't care about like if it's going to be usable or useful or something. I just do something that I like. And then when it comes to projects, I try to like, then it's obviously something that will be in use and it has to fit to some guidelines and stuff like that. So I usually try to find like what is solving the problem, but also like what is like one step further from it. Like what can I do that's a bit extra, that's a bit different?
Lara, what about you?
I think there's like two types of experimentation for me, and one is kind of accidental, and I really love this type of experimentation because usually for me this type comes from mistakes, and I really love mistakes because then you can kind of also riff off on that and take it further and maybe make it more extreme, and then as you go some really nice things come out of it which are not mistakes anymore because you kind of like leading this experimentation process with the first mistake that then turns into an idea that you execute. And the other type of experimentation that I usually do is kind of like a more conceptual one, I would say, where you know that, okay, I would like to experiment with this technique or with this software, and you are more punctual in what you want to see, but still you are discovering new things or maybe letting the control out of your hand a little bit more. So yeah, I think usually I do these sort of things. And then an example for this would be one of my typefaces where I was extrapolating with a type design software and then kind of letting the computer do some crazy things, which then I again took back and was more pragmatic about it. So yeah.
Question for you maybe is a paraphrase of this question. How does the experimentation change when you're doing self-initiated projects and projects for clients? Is there any differentiation, or do you try to approach everything the same way?
I think when we are working with clients, we are not just doing crazy things and hoping that it turns out to be something nice. We are like, I don't know how to say it, but like this trying in a specific direction, like trying to find some experiments which are like connected to the topic or like to the client's needs. But I also, like we have a couple of Illustrator and Figma files and also Glyph files full of these crazy experiments which are like sitting there and waiting to be maybe implemented in some client works or just to be like explored properly.
We are quite experimenting a lot in our projects, and the best solutions we are presenting for the clients, and one of them are working for them. So
hopefully, I just wanted to add that I feel, and we are talking about this quite often, that we don't really have the time to experiment enough, because obviously we have to make the living, and we usually try to come up with some new ways and some cool solutions, but we feel it that we don't really have enough time, and it would be much better to like have, I don't know, more time to experiment and do crazy things and do manual things, not just digital ones. Like I feel like, or I don't know how are you with this, but we quite often tend to start designing with the tools that we already know how to work, and we like know that probably we will get to the solution like pretty quickly, and we know that we don't have, let's say, much time. We have to be there, so we don't really have this luxury to like start on paper with tools that we never used before. But it would be really nice, and we have this urge actually. But
I think it's really interesting what you say, because you have these tools that function how you already expect them to function. And I think one part of the experimentation usually is also to kind of differ from this and take it to the extreme and discover what this program can do somehow else. Because I think this is a little bit more easy when you are working with something with your hand, but it's a bit more difficult when you're working on the computer. But yeah, just wanted to add this.
Speaking of time, I'm sure you all have a lot of sketches and ideas for typefaces in your drawers, but how do you decide to actually start a design process and continue through to the finishing of a typeface?
We didn't finish any of our typefaces yet.
That's a good answer.
I think a typeface is never finished, but it stopped.
Just wanted to say the exact same. But I think it's also, in some aspects, we're about to also open a foundry. I know that Vara has a foundry, and sometimes you try to like look at like what the market is filled with. We also try to look at like what people might need or what designers would love to use. And also what I do is I just like distribute my pre-release typefaces and then just give it to designers and see like if it works, if it clicks, and then maybe I'll work on them. And also, it's like time is a huge aspect. Like if you have a lot of work with something that might not be that successful, you just maybe like drop it, and then after retirement you will be able to finish or something.
Yeah. Speaking of type foundries, we spoke about it in our previous conversations. There has been a renaissance and a trend about type design and type foundries opening up every day. So there's a lot of type foundries. So how do you approach starting a type foundry today, and how do you think of marketing your type foundry within a vast amount of other type foundries?
I think for me and my colleague Samira Shnoeli, it was really important that we start our own foundry, because what we've noticed is this tendency that there are a lot of type foundries opening, but we realized there is basically no foundry which is founded by women. So I think for us, it's a huge part of what we do, that we want to encourage others, maybe give a bit of an example that it's possible. But I think it's still a tendency to see men do this type of jobs or found something. And I don't say that this is a part of our marketing, but I think I would say this is a part of our approach, or more like philosophy or motivation, why we do things. And apart from that, I think everyone has to find their own genre. I think with the name we have, Outline Online, it's it's really obvious that we would like to exist in this online space, and we would like to make our fonts useful for people and take it out from our drawers and make it visible online and accessible online. And we would like to do this with others later on as well. So I think this is our distinctive approach, I would say. And then, after this, what you put in your library is kind of like up to what kind of ideas you had before, but these are very varied. I'm more interested in technology, and my colleague did a lot of typefaces that are for text. So we have like a good balance.
Are you planning to invite other designers for your type foundry to contribute with typefaces, or are you planning to only publish your own?
We are planning. It's a long process, but we definitely plan to open up this platform for others. This was one of our main ideas, to open up the world of type design to others and publish their works as well, who maybe might not have a really great chance of having visibility. So I think that's really important for us, but things go slowly. So I don't know when will this be possible. First, we need to do our own releases, and then after we see how it goes.
I think just what you mentioned before, I would call it honesty, or like, it's a bit of a cliche, but you can say if you're like true to yourself, you do what you like, you're basically building culture. And I think that's super cool. And that's why we also started with my colleague, Andre Teixeira. We started our own foundry because we have things that we like, we have things that we want to be different. And for example, our name is going to be Typing 24/7, because we were like, what do? We are typing. And then that was the idea. And you don't have to go far from like looking into things. And so yeah, I think like honesty is a big factor.
Speaking about identity and promoting a typeface, I have the impression that it's gotten really important to give them their own identity, their own branding. What do you think about it, that every typeface needs to be communicated and also well branded to be visible in this world of many typefaces?
I think each font has its own visual language, and this is our job to make it attractive and for the users or the buyers, for the people. And I think it's a very fun thing to figure out a plus graphic word for a font.
I just want to say that it was like the first time that I realized that the typefaces need like branding or something was during my bachelor degree, when I was doing my diploma work, which was a typeface. And then I spent like the whole semester designing it. And at the end, I was there with like a font file, and I had to design a brand for it, or like there was a little booklet of it and stuff like that, obviously. And yeah, that time I realized that maybe it's not visible that you were working on it already for like, I don't know how many hours, but yeah, you did. And it's a plus thing that you have to think about. And I think maybe this is also like, yeah, we didn't release any of our typefaces yet, but I think it's also part of the problem that even though we finish, let's say, the shapes of the glyphs, but we have to come up with the name as the display type guys were telling yesterday, and yeah, the brand of the typeface. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of logistics involved in finishing a typeface. So the work after you do when you finished your typeface completely, let's say, if we can even say that, I think it's a lot. So all of these logistics have to be done, and I think this type of like art direction or branding for the font is also a part of that, and it takes quite a while, and you are always underestimating how much it will actually take. So
I think it also comes naturally sometimes from the typeface or from the process. Like, there are typefaces that I've been working on for like 3 years, and I would love to release them, but it's still like piling up stuff. And I think when you just like put it out, all the research that went in, there's already kind of branding material. But on the other hand, like we live in capitalism, and if we want to sell things, then we have to market them. So I think it's a bit sad that we are like in this verge of like creating content every day, because like designing a typeface, I think, is a slow process. I mean, you can speed up many aspects of it, but basically the crafting is slow, and you have to look at it again and again and change like little details about it, especially when you're designing text typefaces, I think. So to me, a lot of things come from like just the process, and then during the process I also have ideas or like art direction and some kind of branding or like marketing ideas or things like that.
So would you say you can free yourself from thinking too much about it during the process, or is it something that is in the back of your head while designing the actual typeface?
I'd rather say it's in the back of my head. So it's like a constant way of thinking. But also when you design a typeface, you think about how is it going to be applied. So it's not like a l'art pour l'art way of designing. It's you start thinking of like what it will be used for, what kind of use cases you can imagine the typeface, because there are like restrictions, kind of like what can be done in, I don't know, like 6-point size and what cannot. So I think, yeah, it's always in the back of your mind, or at least in my case. And it is tiring sometimes, but yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, I think I can agree with this, that it's while you are working on a typeface, it might take years, and all these sort of like ideas about the typeface are accumulating in the back of your head. And I think this type of like idea bunch will come a little bit more clearer when some people maybe start to use your typeface before it's released, so you can really see how people are looking at it and not just you. But of course you already have a sort of like an idea of how it's going to be used or in what context. And then I think the communication about it is first to make this clear and then maybe show how people have already used it. And the other part is to show your idea about that certain typeface, because I think without explaining it, people might not get by looking at it what was that small detail that you've been working on for half a year. So I think it's sometimes important to let people know why you have put in and what type of work you have put in. So
also on the constant anxiety of like forgetting those ideas. So I have to like do like notes and stuff like that during the process, so I won't forget the ideas and then I can return to them.
We also talked before about the different ways of becoming a type designer. What do you think is necessary to become a contemporary type designer? Is it to go to university and have a proper education, so to speak? Or is it also a valid way to be self-taught? What is your approach to that?
Bendegúz and me, I mean, during the university we had a type design class with Ádám, which we are super grateful for, and he was the first one to introduce us to type design. But yeah, we didn't study like properly in school, yeah. But yeah, we were discussing this a bit, that maybe it can also be an advantage, because we don't have the knowledge that we shouldn't cross certain gestures in type design. We are just crossing it, not knowing that those are like mistakes. And I think maybe this way, yeah, some interesting things can happen.
Yeah, I think people who are not learning type design has a very different approach to design a type, and yeah, it can be very, very interesting outcomes, even if you are making things wrong, I think, or you're not starting in a good point, and you notice that you failed, and yeah, it's a self-learning process, I think.
I also wanted to add that for us, I think that designing a typeface makes this strange, good feeling inside. I don't know if you know, but probably you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so we didn't always like try to find a proper use for a typeface that we start to like work on. We just start like from I don't know, one shape, one letter, and we feel like, wow, this is super nice, and then we are like getting in it and like designing the whole alphabet with no reason. Like it's just this inner intention. Yeah, I think it's maybe because you said, but probably I think if we are talking about text typefaces, then yeah, there is. It's much more important to like to see where is it going to be used.
We act like it's much more important.
But yeah, with let's say display typefaces, it's like much more of a larpular because you can do some crazy stuff which is like just interesting for you, and hopefully some other people will also find it nice and will find a nice use to it.
I think it takes like a certain weird type of person to be interested in something for so long. So I think that's one aspect of it, that you have to be like in a very different mindset while you're designing type than when you are doing graphic design, which is a much faster process and can be also like a much more stressful process, while type design is this slow but steady thing, and you have to be really have endurance to go through it, because it's like a game of patience also. But I can kind of feel similar or empathize with the guys, because before I started the master program, I felt a lot of times that my autodidact way of learning was maybe not so valid, or I had this type of like imposter syndrome, even though I was already interested in type design and doing it myself maybe like 2 or 3 years before applying to school. But I think the school or this education helped me to validate that, okay, now I'm officially a type designer. But I think it doesn't really make that much of a difference, because it's just the years and the patience that you put in to the process that makes you a type designer.
I think, yeah, I can definitely agree. I think you just need like motivation or intuition to do that. And formal education can help with a lot of things, but it can also restrict you. So I think there are like many ways of becoming a type designer, and I think if someone wants to become a type designer, just start doing type. And if you're always like hungry for more, and you always want to like learn more, I think then you have a good path. Like that's it.
Mm. Education has also got to do with heritage and history. There are countries like Switzerland that have a very well documented history of type design. Maybe how would you describe the heritage of Hungarian type design? Is
sad. No, I think we have like great designers from the past, and also just like all hate to Ádám, because I also feel like we have a phrase that says like we all came from his pocket, and I think he had a big impact on all our journeys. And I think you can find, it's not like a very big scene, it has never been, but you can find stuff. It's just not really organized, so you kind of have to go on your own, finding the designers from the past and visit like archives that are like, I don't know, 800 kilometers away from each other. And I think that's lacking some like institutional funds or like some kind of hands that could organize and like try like collect everything.
Let me ask you, could you describe how this impact can be visible in a contemporary practice, probably? So if you draw inspiration from the past.
You mean like the...
You came from his pocket, you said.
Yeah. I think it's more like he was the one, or like one of the first in the kind of modern era who had like a formal education. He went to KA, BK, and then he started giving workshops, and basically he was introducing type design to the like Hungarian design scene. I'm not sure if he had an impact on our styles, or at least in my case, I'm not sure. But the impact of like looking at type, or like, yeah, basically the way we're looking at type and stuff like that, he had a huge impact.
Yeah, giving some pointers, like technical pointers. Yeah.
Is there any figure or tradition from the Hungarian history that you're drawing inspiration from?
I can answer this.
Yeah.
Because I think while I was in MoMA, while I was studying in MoMA, I was really interested in the diacritics that are in Hungarian language. And I discovered some discrepancies with drawing diacritics because every language has their own preference. So, for example, German people would put the diaresis or like the two dots differently on a different umlaut, different position than Hungarian people would. And we have some preference in shaping the Hungar umlaut, the long one, as well, which is quite unique to our language. And then you have like a number of other things with Polish and Czech styles of drawing diacritics. So I did a bit of research about it and made my thesis during my uni studies. And then after also in ECAL, I've made a typeface exclusively about this idea of being able to customize the typeface for your language preference, to say so. So I think this could be something that is inspiring or an interesting field of research, because diacritics make a lot of impact on how the text looks, and they really make a language appear completely different from the other one. So I think it's a very nice way of tuning your typeface based on this.
I just have a quick story. We went to the same school a year apart, and I remember once I was like in the very beginning of a course, I started designing diacritics, and one of my professors told me that you should focus only on the like fundamentals, and I was like, to me diacritics are fundamentals, like, so I can agree more. Like, to me that's an integral part of the typeface.
Yeah, I think it's strange not to view it as an integral part. So for me, that someone said this is a bit crazy, but yeah.
From the conversations we had in preparing for this talk, I got the impression that there is no real or active scene in Budapest, and also the exchange to outside of Budapest and outside of Hungary is not really there. How do you approach networking? And the four of you know each other, even though you're not in the same city anymore. But how do you exchange with others? And are there any strategies to improve the community of type designers?
I text them on Instagram like, wow, great job. And basically that's it. And then we meet sometimes in like conferences or like exhibitions or stuff like that. But yeah, basically Instagram is the way to go.
I think also circling back to the motive of our foundry, I think it's really important to do a sort of like active type of research about who is working in the field, especially to discover maybe some people that would not have the type of reach to get to you naturally or algorithmically. So I think that's one thing to be very aware of, who is working currently, what are they doing, and then on top of that to reach out maybe. But I think it's hard to make lasting connections unless you have some sort of like project or maybe an institutional framing around things. And I think that's very important to have this type of like institutions that provide the circumstances to work together with other people. And I think that's maybe a bit lacking here, as I see it.
Bendegúz and Ádám, what do you think would be necessary to have a vibrant community here and also the connections to outside of Budapest?
We are, I think, really bad with this whole networking and like reaching out. And I feel that there is this urge inside of us to like do something together. We even have some friends there, who we were discussing lately that we should organize some kind of an exhibition together with some other graphic designers or type designers. But I don't know. I feel like I was saying that time would be nice to have more of it. Yeah. So probably time would help. Also, I think maybe better financial background.
Funding maybe also as well from institutions maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, probably money is also part of it. Yeah.
Mm. In this context, I would like to mention your project. I think you initiated it, the Don't Know How to Write project. Can you tell us a little bit about it, about the past and maybe the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically it came from this idea that like no one is doing anything and or nothing, and like
for the
to get,
community,
like,
not in general.
Yeah, for the community, and I think I was thinking that it would be nice also to have some visibility, some like international visibility, and for that you need to present something already, and also like I think cooperation and like positive reinforcements. So I was saying like jokingly that I reach out to people on Instagram, but basically I think it's very important to tell designers when you think that their work is awesome, you can just like tell them like, hey, you're doing something great, because we can also learn from each other. And I think the most I learned is from like cooperation and like working with others. And that was kind of the idea behind it. Is so far it had like, or we had, because the guys were also part of it, we had like 2 exhibitions, I think in 2018 and 2019, but I'm not sure.
I'm really bad with time, but I think maybe it was before 2019.
Yeah, it was before COVID,
2019
definitely.
actually. We were on Erasmus and we weren't here at the exhibition. So it was 2019, I think.
Yeah, you weren't like physically here, but you were part of it. And yeah, so for the future, we are trying to like bring it back to life. It's also a bit difficult because I want it to be located in Budapest, but somewhat like internationally channeled. So I just reached out to like curators and some people to help me, because the first one I kind of organized on my own with help from the guys. But now that I live in Lausanne, it's a bit more complicated to like find, I don't know, printing press here or find a gallery that would host us and stuff like that, or find funding. That's also something that I'm not really experienced in, and I think that's also something to learn. Just like reaching out to people, that's also something that you have to learn. So yeah, I think the as David Lynch said, the future is bright, and very excited. I don't want to like spoil too many things, but yeah, I think probably next year we will have something.
Well, when we used to, like back in the days when we were working on Duno, I think one important aspect of that was that we were kind of after uni and we had some free time on our hands. So we always just used to sit down and work on things together as well. Like I think it was the 6 of us, with some people who are not here right now. And I think that was kind of like a luxury back then, when you don't have the pressure from work or necessarily the pressure to make a living, because you're kind of like fresh out of university and you're not really thinking about this yet. So you just want to make something happen. And it was really, yeah, we had like 2 rounds that were really, really nice to always have like the guys to talk things through. I think it was really nice.
Yeah, it helped that we were after the uni, but I think that will be help a lot just to hang around together and get fun with it, and see it as not a job, but it's a fun project, and that would help a lot, I think.
I also had the idea of like including in the publication, because it was like 2 exhibitions and 1 publication for each. And in the publication, I wanted to collect things that are not necessarily published, or like more like in a sketch phase or something that you wouldn't show, because I think it's also interesting and it's more fun and you don't have restriction. The only restriction was like it has to be black and white, but other than that it could be. I think someone once made illustrations and it was completely fine with some type around it, but yeah,
I think this was really liberating to have this free process.
You're still young, but some of you are also teaching, and I think teaching is a good way to hand off experience to the next generation. And what is your approach to teaching, and what do you think would be necessary to give good advice to the young?
It's a little bit difficult because when I teach mostly graphic design for now. I would love to branch out maybe in the future and teach type design as well. Well, I taught some workshops, but it's not really like full-time teaching. But I think what's really important for me is to have this non-hierarchical approach to teaching. And with my colleague that I'm teaching with, Kata Gaib, we have this idea resonating between us, and I learned also a lot from her on how to approach the students with this type of mindset. And we mostly just like to have conversations with them and reach conclusions by asking them and not really giving answers, but more like leading them into the right direction with the questions and kind of letting them to have their own agency in the process and discover things through asking themselves, why are you doing this, or what was the reason, or why do you think this is better than that one? So I think this is our approach for now. But I think I like to be also very pragmatic about this as well. So I like to give presentations with like a lot of information, but I'm not sure everyone is always so open to this. So I think it has to be somewhat like a good balance between these two things, probably.
I'm not teaching. I only hold workshops, but my learning was that it is our job to urge youngsters to be confident what are they doing, and that's a win, because if you are confident, you will learn a lot from your process.
I feel, at least for me, during my university years, I felt like those classes that were held by, I don't want to be, is it ageism, or like when you are so I want to say that when we had classes with, for example, with Ádám, I felt like it was some kind of fresh young blood, and I was lacking on that. So I feel if the teacher is like super enthusiastic about his or her practice and like graphic design or type design in general, anything, then it's like the most inspiring thing, at least for me. And so I feel if somebody is like really into something and is telling or like teaching students about that thing, then it can work.
I think it's also a good practice to, or like a good way to practice openness, because I think we tend to think about ourselves that we are like so open-minded, and then sometimes you have to face the reality that you're not. And I think teaching is a good way to face yourself, or it's like a good mirror. And then it's also good to teach you like how to be more open, and then you just like find great ideas or like find people with like great way of thinking, and I think that's amazing.
Before I ask the audience for questions, I wanted to share a nice thought of Hunor. I think we could say that typefaces are also modular, like USM furniture, but he was thinking about what would a limited edition typeface look like. Do you have any ideas?
It's basically you can sell like only a few licenses or like a certain amount of numbers, and then it's finished, like you cannot sell it anymore.
So is it a self-destroying typeface that only lasts for 30 days or so?
It's a crypto typeface.
Yeah, I was thinking about some NFT things, but no, I don't think I'm subscribed to that. But like, well, a typeface is kind of like limited edition anyway, because the licenses that regulate it, it's really up to you. So, you know, when you're making client work with maybe the possibility of the client using it only exclusively and no one else, that's also sort of like a limited edition work. So I would just imagine the typeface that's limited edition kind of the same way. Maybe it's meant for only the king or the queen, you know? That's the only people that can use it.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it exists, but I don't know, like it's capitalism, so you always think about like how to capitalize your projects. But I think what is interesting, I also told you about this idea that we had that if you're building like a type family, and just like in like a regular family, there are people like passing away, and there are new people coming in. So like, you know, like babies born, and you add like more typefaces to the family, and then at some point you stop distributing certain typefaces and you don't sell any more licenses. I think that's an interesting, at least like thought experiment.
Yeah, it is. Do you have any questions that I can ask the panel?
Thanks for the insights. It was super interesting. My question is pretty basic, and you touched a little bit on that, but what is your favorite moment or like part of designing a typeface?
Let me repeat it with the microphone. What is your favorite moment in the process of designing a typeface?
I think for me it's when like the basic rules are set somehow, like you already know like where are you heading to, and you just enter this strange flow state.
Wanted to say the same.
When the time is flying and you just realize that you really have to go to the toilet because you missed it for the last couple of hours.
And you still can't stop.
Yeah, and you are rather pee yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a great question because I think that's the best about type design. When you reach this sort of like flow state, really invested in your idea, you have some ground rules and then you can just start executing it. And really, this is why I said it takes a special person to be interested in it, because I think you have to be like kind of a weird person to get stuck between the nodes and just push them for hours and feel really happy about it.
Yeah, and I think there's an exaggeration of that when you've been designing a typeface for like, I don't know, years, and then you're a bit tired of that, but then you find this moment again, and then you're lost for 2 days, and then your family just calls you like, are you still alive?
Do you have more questions?
I have to say a disclaimer before, like I'm coming from grant marketing, so I'm not a type designer. But I'm really curious, like, is the uniqueness of the type is essential, like in the projects that you're doing, or is it something that depends on the project, or is it something that you solve somehow? So you do maybe a research or something. How do you approach this, or is it like completely unessential, the uniqueness in the font design?
I repeat it in a short version. How important is the uniqueness of a font for you in your work?
I think it's really important to have a unique idea. I think there are a lot of typefaces out there that somehow are similar to each other, but still you have to find some sort of angle to it, either conceptual or visual, that is like a different interpretation. And I think this coming from a personal perspective for everyone, and we tend to think that design or even type design maybe is way more objective than actually it's way more subjective in my opinion. So first there's this subjective lens that it's your work, and no matter what you do, it's going to be kind of unique to your perspective. But on the other hand, you also have to think about how you will market this typeface, and for that to be marketable and take a valid position, and maybe also not copy something else, even if you're reinterpreting something from before, you have to have this very unique take on it, I think. And that could be hard to find, or maybe even you can run into challenges where you're working on something and someone releases something before, which is very similar to what you're working on currently. So there's this tricky situation that, oh shit, someone released something before me and I'm kind of doing the same thing. So now what? Now what is my take on this typeface?
I also think is this kind of thing that you have to take like always a step further, because typefaces, if you look into like the history of typefaces, they are like kind of like growing out from each other. So it's like kind of like a continuous thing, like someone did something and then the next designer added just like a little detail or a little tweak. But they're always unique. They're always changing. It's just today I think we have a boom again of type design, and then it's less visible, or less visible, less present, that each typefaces are unique. But I think in my approach, I always try to do, like, as I said, one step further, or just one little tweak, at least one little tweak that's different.
Are you happy with the answer, or should we elaborate on the second part? Okay. Any more questions? Please.
Could just refer back to the last one, the limited edition typeface idea. Could you actually, if you think about for those custom or special design typefaces for like yesterday we saw the example by Lloyd's Bank. So we're calling about those hopeful typefaces. Would you call this limited edition for typeface, or is this already more etching to the like S+2?
So the short question would be, is custom typeface a limited edition typeface, right?
It is, I think. But so the thing with custom typefaces is sometimes you sign a license agreement that is only valid for like 5 years. And after 5 years, it goes back to the foundry and you can sell it from your library. But yeah, I think custom typefaces are limited edition because initially it has restrictions that only the certain client can use it. So yeah, I think yes.
So I think we need to stop here to give you like 5 minutes break before Sure Neon is up on at 12. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'd like to thank Bendegúz, Ádám, Laura, and Hunor. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube so you don't miss any new episodes. Vienna Design Hour is produced by Chin Creative Studios. A big thank you to Harald Allacher for post-production and mastering, and to Be Visible for the music.